Right then, everyone, welcome back. This isn't necessarily a preview. You can't really preview pre-season games because you are not sure of who the manager is going to start, and of course, you're not sure what's going to happen in the second half. You saw it against Leeds United, two halves, two different 11s. So it's basically more about getting fit, getting the match rhythm, getting the match sharpness, trying to create links and partnerships with each other on the field. And of course, it does give the young players opportunities to impress in order to be part of the first team this season. Now we know that we are going to be seeing Mbeumo's debut. I would love to see him start so that he can have that link up with Mateus Cunha. I definitely think that that is a tantalizing prospect in terms of what Man United can produce in our attacking phases. My question though is, will Rasmus Højlund have more chances created for him so that he can score goals? If that does happen, you might end up seeing a change of mind in the people not wanting to sell Højlund because there is a bit of a prospect in terms of him getting chances from an Mbeumo, from a Cunha, Mbeumo, sorry, and from a Bruno, a Ahmad, a Dogu, etc. There are multiple chance creators now. It will come down to Rasmus Højlund putting those chances away if he wants to have a place at Manchester United, not just for this season, but also for seasons to come. He needs to show why we spent 70 million on him as a player in terms of last two seasons. We were expecting him to have a much more bigger impact in terms of his development, but there hasn't been any. He's been regressing, and that is why there are talks of him going back to Italy. So, in this game particularly, I do want to see a bit of link up play. I do want to see us have a sense of rhythm and a pattern in how we play, whether it be playing out from the back or playing the ball forward and starting from that second phase. It all will come down to how the players play with each other. Now, of course, the midfield is very important, and this is why we are also looking at bringing in a midfielder. Now, of course, we would want to get a top midfielder, but I don't think that's going to be the case, especially with us not having the money to even buy any players right now. We're still looking to sell Garnacho, Anthony, Malacia. These are still players we want to get off the books and get that cash in so that we can make signings in order to bolster the squad at what it already is. Now, Ruben Amorim, he did say that if they do not get sold, he's willing to let them back into the team and give them an opportunity because they are part of the team still and they obviously are still under contract at Manchester United. Now, even though Ruben Amorim said that he is willing to let them back in the team if they cannot be sold, there is a small sense of redemption that you could potentially see in most likely a Garnacho because we know the potential that he has and his qualities. And as much as he's done bad towards the club, towards the manager, towards his teammates, and us as fans, there can be a redemption arc simply because it wasn't as bad as when you saw Rashford choosing not to play well enough in order to help the team. I can say that Garnacho always wanted to give and gave 100%, apart from that Europa League final where you could see he wasn't really on it mentally. Now, again, you can't have players like that to choose when to turn it on and off. But again, if you have Garnacho as a squad player and he's happy with that because he couldn't get sold, it's still a good player to have on the bench in order to use, when the moment arises. Whether Amorim does play him, that's another question. But in this particular game against West Ham, there has to be a sense of giving the young players more opportunities. The likes of Sekou Kone, the likes of Toby Collier, Ethan Williams is also part of the tour. There is another player that certainly impressed Ruben Amorim, so will be given an opportunity. This certainly is a game that will give us a nice barometer to seeing where Manchester United are moving in terms of a style of play, in terms of a direction in how our patterns are when we do have the ball in possession. It's going to be a nice gauge for us to see what Ruben Amorim is trying to implement for this season. He made it very clear once again in the press conference that we are going to suffer but there is a sense of a high spirit within the group. Now, again, when you use the term we are going to suffer, last season we saw that. And this season cannot be as bad as last season. There has to be improvement. Otherwise, Ruben Amorim will be questioned, and again, his job will be on the line because there will be pressure from the outside. And whether that means Ineos doesn't listen to the pressure from the outside and stick with him, we'll cross that bridge when we get there if we do end up having another bad season. But with the way things are, with the players we are bringing in, I do think that there's going to be a change in Manchester United's way of play. We are going to look much better this season, partly because we're only going to be playing one game a week. So there's more rest for us, there's more recovery time. Players can have more energy for games when they do come around. But of course, the time we will have on the training pitch is so important, because now Amorim can focus on other details other than having to focus on the next opposition all the time when we were playing every 3 days last season. And we could see the squad couldn't handle that because of lack of depth, but also lack of quality, especially in the Premier League. And that is why we find ourselves going to get Cunha, going to get Mbeumo, potentially looking to get a Ollie Watkins. These are Premier League proven players that definitely can and will improve Manchester United. Now, of course, if we don't get in a striker, like I said, Amorim did make mention that if we don't bring in any other players, then he'll be happy with the squad for this season. I do think we should use the money that we potentially can get and go for a midfielder. I think that is more important than bringing in a striker, because yes, you have Kobe Mainu that is there, but he's most likely going to be looking to play as a number 10. He has the ability to play in a midfield 2 for Amorim, box to box, but he's much more better when there's a midfield 3, because he's not immediately defensively minded. He is able to play that role, but he's not going to be going in for tackles every single time and winning the ball like an Ugarte does. He's more of a player that glides between the boxes and, of course, looks to do more in attack than in defense. He can play as a perfect in terms of playing out from the back, being that link between defense and midfield to attack. But again, it's much more better when he's allowed a certain sense of freedom, like a Paul Pogba, because then there isn't any defensive responsibility that he has to worry about, but only focus on being in positions in order to allow us to play out and have good link-up play. Now, of course, if you put Bruno there, you miss his potency in the number 10. But there is options for Amorim. Toby Collier is the player that has the legs in order to go from box to box and defend well. But again, a prospect. Is there a way for him to be in the first team? He has to impress, he has to improve in terms of putting himself into that position. Ugarte is a player that is very aggressive, wins the ball, is going to stop counter attacks for you. A bit of front foot to back foot defending, Ugarte is very good at, but he's not as good on the ball. So this is why I necessarily say we need a player that can do it all, that is good on the ball, that can defend well when we do not have the ball, defend well when we are trying to defend from the front, is very good in terms of breaking up play, intercepting passes. Most likely for me, it will either be Adam Wharton or Carlos Baleba from Crystal Palace and Brighton respectively, but they are expensive. So this is the reason why we're looking more along the lines of Edison from Atalanta. Again, a much cheaper option. Javi Guerra is another player who's been constantly linked to us and talks of him rejecting a contract at Valencia. Another midfielder, a Spanish midfielder, which is highly rated. And again, a player that can come in and perhaps play that role that Ruben Amorim is looking for, that he had with Morten Hulman, of course, in that particular midfield at Sporting. But it all comes down to who Ineos can sell before we can look to buy players. But I'm excited for Mbeumo's debut. It will be, of course, against West Ham. And I'm really excited to see how him and Cunha links up, of course, with the likes of Bruno, Ahmad, etc. It's going to be entertaining, I do believe. And Mbeumo will show his quality. Cunha already did it against Leeds. He'll probably definitely do it against West Ham. But thank you for joining me. Of course, thank you for those who have subscribed to the channel. Continue to do so that we can continually grow this Manchester United community. Have a wonderful weekend till we see each other soon, Red Devils. Bye-bye. Thanks for watching. If you want more content on Manchester United, like, share and subscribe.